Alrighty, welcome to a brand new Flyers Daily with Jason Myrtetus. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I did some cleaning out in the garage today. Had a little bit of energy. Got to get some things cleaned up around the house. And I like to turn my garage into the garage mahal. And I was going through a bunch of boxes and found all kinds of old stuff, including this hat. What do you think? I'm in summer mode with this bucket hat. Does it look better like that with the orange, or is it's reversible? And you can go like this as well. Found that in the garage. I think it looks better with the black, but I look like crap either way. So found all kinds of cool stuff in the garage, going through 30 plus years of radio stuff. Found some Howie's hockey wax. I found old Flyers poker chips. These are pretty cool. Flyers gave these out many years ago. And I found this pack. You open them up and there's Flyers poker chips in there. Different colors. Get your white chip. Of course, you got your orange chip. So got some Flyers poker chips. I found Ozzy. Ozzy was hanging out and he was looking for his wife. He looks bewildered as always. Sharon! So we found Sharon. And there's Sharon Osbourne. Oh, Ozzy. There you go. Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne. Quite the excursion today. Actually, I found two old ticket stubs. Remember when you went to concerts and you used to actually have a ticket? From June 22nd, 2001. At the First Union Center, a 94 WYSP rock event. I was working at YSP at that time. Pantera, two of them right there. We used them. We went. I have the Pantera tickets from 2001. Who knew? Why? Finding all kinds of crazy stuff in the garage. It's that time of year to clean it out. All right. We're going to get into our Flyers Exit Day interview series in this episode once again. We're going to do something first, though. Today's guest is going to be Flyers captain Sean Couturier. We'll have a sit down with him to talk about his season. And he's a player that I'm really looking forward to with new head coach Rick Tocchet. Obviously, Sean Couturier and John Tortorella didn't see eye to eye. Maybe that's putting it mildly. Couturier, after he was named captain, was scratched, shocking a lot of people, probably including Sean Couturier. We know about the 21 months of hockey that he missed. We know about his contract, which has a few more years left on it. It'll expire after the 29-30 season at a cap hit, an AAV of $7.75 million. Actually, he is in a buyout window now. You could buy him out, but it doesn't make much sense. And is he a guy that could resurge under Rick Tocchet? So we'll talk to Sean Couturier, and you look at his season, 15 goals, 30 assists, 45 points in 79 games. He was actually a +1 on the season. Not many players on the Flyers were plus. He averaged 17 minutes and 18 seconds of ice time. Had varying points in the season where he was getting over 20 minutes and then sometimes under 16 or 15 minutes. But I think he's one of those guys. I think he's got a point to prove. And coming back next year under Rick Tocchet, I think we're going to get a really good look at where Sean Couturier is at this point in his career. He's now 32 years of age. When's his birthday? He'll be 33 coming up on December 7th. So he's halfway there. So we'll hear from Sean Couturier and his exit day interview coming up in just a couple of moments. Obviously, there's some news. It's been reported that Phantoms head coach Ian LaPerriere will not be returning to the bench in Lehigh Valley for the Phantoms next year. I've not talked to Lappy since this news broke. You guys know he comes on the podcast very often. He and I have very good rapport. He's a really good man. I don't know what the future is for him. I believe he has another year left on his contract. I think he signed a 2-year extension last year. So we'll get those details in due time. And we'll find out who the next bench boss is with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. We'll see if they promote from within, maybe Jason Smith, or they go outside the organization as well. So that's some news of late. Rick Tocchet's kind of ruled the day over the last week in Flyerland. But invading that after the Toronto Maple Leafs were eliminated in the second round, Game 7, where they really came up small again. 2 home games, Games 5 and 7. They just were horrible at home in that Florida series. Now, Florida is an unbelievable team. There's no question about that. But the Leafs still can't get past the second round. A couple of players' contracts are up. John Tavares, will he return? What kind of money will he command if he does return? I think he will. I think it'll be a little bit of a hometown discount to stay in Toronto. And Mitch Marner, whose contract is up, he gets paid $11.9 million now. and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. And the talk out there, Vegas put the Flyers as the second highest odds of being the landing place for Mitch Marner. The only team with better odds, according to Vegas, what do they know, is the Chicago Blackhawks. So we'll see. Does Danny Briere kick tires on Mitch Marner? Does it make sense to bring in Mitch Marner, which is going to be a huge price tag? He is high-end talent. There's no doubt about that. His numbers are tremendous. He's a 100-point player every season, year in and year out. And he actually has good playoff numbers. A lot of those numbers, though, come in games 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, not in 6 and 7. He hasn't been clutch in that regard. And he gets tagged with the moniker of being on a team that can't advance, that chokes in the playoffs. Not a big game player. He's a right winger. Some people say, well, you can move him to center. He played center in junior. I don't think he's a center in the NHL. I wouldn't put him at center. He's a good two-way player. He is high-end talent, which the Flyers do need. He will very likely be available as an unrestricted free agent. Does it make sense? My opinion is it doesn't make sense. It's not easy to add high-end talent. That's the hard thing to do. So when it becomes available and you need it, you should be in on it in most situations. Now, the notion that you can't get high-end talent unless it's this rare circumstance like this, I think is a little bit flawed, because we've seen teams grab high-end talent in other ways than unrestricted free agency. We've seen high-end players move around the NHL. And I saw this tweet that a guy put out last night, and it was talking about, Marner's out there and available. This is very rare that guys like him are out there and available. He said it would have to be adding a player that makes similar impact to Marner, of which there are few. Since teams almost always re-sign their star UFAs, not true. You have to hope Marner quality player hits the trade market. Don't see it happening anytime soon. That was a guy named Brandon Marshall. So I replied to his tweet and said, well, wait a minute. I said, Mikko Rantanen, he entered the trade market this year, not once, but twice, sent to Carolina on to Dallas, signed the 8-year extension in Dallas. High-end talent, was a 10th overall draft pick. Jack Eichel was actually traded to Vegas, a number 2 overall pick, franchise 1C, was traded to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. You look at Matthew Tkachuk. He was traded to Florida. 6th overall pick, absolute star player now. So he was traded. You want to go back, maybe not the same level, Alex Pietrangelo became a UFA, signed in Vegas, won a cup in 2019 with the St. Louis Blues. Sam Reinhart, big piece for the Florida Panthers, was traded from Buffalo. Tage Thompson was traded to the Sabres. Not the same level as Eichel and as other guys I mentioned. Artemi Panarin left as an unrestricted free agent from Columbus and signed with the Rangers. High-end talent. Even guys like slightly lower tier players. Bo Horvat traded to the Islanders. Philip Forsberg way back when. Timo Meier. Vladimir Tarasenko. Ryan O'Reilly traded a couple of times from Colorado to Buffalo. Buffalo to St. Louis. Tomas Hertl. Mark Stone from Ottawa to Vegas. Erik Karlsson's been moved a couple of times. JT Miller was moved this past year. Jake Gensel was moved last year to Carolina and signed as a free agent in Tampa. We can go on and on. When a high-end piece is available, I don't think you have to jump because it'll never be. It's so rare. There's other ways to get players. And now that we're in a rising cap league, once again, the ability to make those big trades with big names and blockbuster deals with multiple players going each way and top-end talent, that's going to become a thing that can happen again. In the flat cap world, that was very difficult to find 2 teams to match up to be able to do that. And we still, during that flat cap era, saw some of that happen. So I don't believe that if you pass on Marner, you're passing on the chance to get high-end talent in total for the next 3 to 5 years. I don't believe that. So that's one of the debates that's been out there. Now, before we get to our exit day interview with Sean Couturier, I was laying in bed last night, and I wanted to come up with some ground rules for phase 2 of the Flyers rebuild. Phase 1 was subtraction, a little bit of backfilling, figure out who's who and what's what, who can be a part of this, who deserves to still be looked at to be a part of the Flyers moving forward as they attempt to ascend back up the NHL pantheon, become a playoff team, and eventually, hopefully, a cup contender. So phase 2 is about where they start adding. Keith Jones was on WIP radio yesterday, and he said something really interesting. He said, we've kind of told the fans what we're doing through this whole process. If you just read the tea leaves and how they're going about this. And when they laid out their plan initially, Danny Briere, Keith Jones, Dan Hilferty, it was very clear, kind of this. The timeline wasn't clear, and Danny Briere had said that will be determined by the players. You know, obviously getting Mishkok over here accelerates some things. But ultimately, they've done kind of what they said they were going to do. And if we're going to take their word, because they did what they said they were going to do to this point, we have to take their word that they're going to follow what they said they're going to do at this stage now. Now, I don't think this is the offseason where they grab an elite player. The most of the cap space that's going to become available is going to be next year. They have some now. Got to sign some RFAs. Got to get Tyson Forster locked up, or he'll be ripe for an RFA offer sheet. And I sign him long term. So I wanted to come up with some rules as we enter phase 2. John Tortorella is no longer here as the head coach. Rick Tocchet is in, whether you were for it, against it, or whatever. That ship has sailed. He's the head coach. So here are the 10 Flyers Daily ground rules for phase 2 of the rebuild. Are you ready? I'll tweet these out also. Number 1, now that we're in phase 2, the days of projecting the job performances of Bob Clark as the GM, of Paul Holmgren as the Flyers GM, of Ron Hextall as the Flyers GM, of Chuck Fletcher as the Flyers GM, the days of projecting their performance on the job into Danny Briere is over. The now current Flyers GM, Danny Briere, he had nothing to do with the way Bob Clark operated as GM, Paul Holmgren, Ron Hextall, or Chuck Fletcher. That's not his. He's got no culpability there. So he shouldn't be judged on the jobs that they did. He should be judged on what he has done or not done since becoming the GM. Can we agree to that? No more projecting, the Flyers traditionally this. They always did this under Holmgren or Hextall or whatever it might be. Those days are in the past, and that has nothing to do with Danny Briere. He's his own man. So no more projecting the job performances of his predecessors onto the current GM. Can we agree on that? Number 2, I demand that we deal in facts and not the tired narratives. The Flyer, like, for example, the Flyers always hire a former Flyer to coach the team. Well, it's happened now 6 times in franchise history and 25 head coaches. So that obviously is way not true. The Flyers are not only the only pro sports team, by the way, that has former players working in front offices that played the game and wore the jersey for their employer. You see it all over the league. Steve Yzerman is the general manager, president of the Detroit Red Wings. He was a Detroit Red Wing as a player. Rod Brindamore won a cup and played in Carolina. By the way, nobody would have had a problem if Rod Brindamore was hired as a former Flyer player and not Rick Tocchet. Cam Neely was a Boston Bruin. He's been working in their front office as president for years. Mike Greer, the GM of the Sharks, was a San Jose Sharks player. Chris Drury played for a couple of teams, including the Rangers, where he's now the GM. And Joe Sakic, of course, played for the Colorado Avalanche. Won a cup there, won a couple. And on through the league. It's very normal in pro sports to have players that played for you, bled for your organization, end up in your front office. It's not uncommon. It's not something exclusive to the Flyers. So let's deal in the facts, not the tired narratives. Number 3, Rick Tocchet coaches dinosaur hockey with an old style dump and chase. That's one of the things that came out immediately. He's going to stifle the offense because he's a dump and chase coach. Well, I don't see the Florida Panthers offense being stifled at all. And they're the most used dump and chase team in the NHL. Carolina also. Hockey has evolved. The dump and chase has evolved. And playing that way, the old school 1980s dump and chase, it doesn't work. You have to create pressure. If you're going to dump the puck in, you have to be moving through the neutral zone with pace as a 5-man unit. And the dump and chase clearly still works. The team that won the Stanley Cup last year is in the conference final to go back and been in the 2 prior Cup finals, lives by the dump and chase. And the dump and chase is not Rick Tockett's system. And the dump and chase is not a system. It's a situational play in hockey. It's a read. When a player is coming through the neutral zone with possession of the puck, pending the support that he has as he goes through the neutral zone with his own players, how they're spread out, will determine whether you try to carry the puck in with possession or you dump the puck. Now, you can dump the puck and change. You can dump the puck if you have your whole unit moving up through the neutral zone in tandem. You can dump it strategically, cross-corner dump, deploy your 2-1-2 split forecheck to try and win the possession of the puck. That's what you have to make the read. If it's a 2-on-4, if 2 forwards are coming through the neutral zone with puck and there's 4 players defending for the other team, you're probably not going to skate the puck into the zone and get in deep with possession of the puck without dumping it. So it's a situational play. Again, the 2 teams that led the NHL in uncontrolled entries are Florida and Carolina, both in the Eastern Conference Final. Rick Tockett's forecheck is very aggressive. And with that aggressive forecheck comes risk. Now, if a team beats the 2-1-2 split forecheck where you have F1 on the puck, F2 taking away the D-to-D pass or the ability to shift the play to the weak side in the D zone to break out, and F3 is reading the play, trying to kind of push it to a certain direction so a D-man can pinch down the wall. If they're able to beat that forecheck, they're going the other way with numbers because you've got 2 guys deep and your F3 is high and trailing the play probably on an odd man rush. So there's risk in it. But with risk comes reward. You have to be aggressive to create offense in today's game. So again, the dump and chase is not a system. It's a read. All right, number 4. Coaches that preach defending and being responsible defensively, play away from the puck, supporting the puck, don't stymie his team's ability to generate offense and score goals. This is a fact. Every coach in the NHL, from the most creative offensive minds, they all still preach structure in their defensive zone and doing the right things defensively. Now, some teams like to stretch more as their way of getting out of their own zone when possession flips. Some teams opt for the 6 to 8 foot pass and come through the neutral zone in kind of old school fashion. The stretches where you can really stretch an opponent is a way to get better zone exits because you're thinning the defense of the blue line and the ability to keep the puck in by stretching the opposition. So that doesn't, just because a coach preaches defense and structure and being on the right side of the puck, doesn't have anything to do with the other end of the ice. Every coach, it's a cumulative sport, the sport of hockey, like basketball. It is just as important to score goals as it is to prevent goals. So both ends of the ice are equally weighted and should be. All right, number 5. The Flyers haven't developed any players in years. That's a narrative we hear a lot. Development's been horrific. And there's been some big misses. We don't know if that's development misses or sometimes draft pick misses. Maybe a little bit of both. Kind of like the GM category above. This is entering now year 3 with a newish development staff headed by Riley Armstrong, who Danny Briere kind of cleaned out everybody on the development side, brought in Riley Armstrong and others to lead the developmental path. Now, grading a new developmental staff it's a little early still. It takes a bit of time to see the fruits of a development staff's labor. like a pick. You can't judge a draft pick for a couple of years. You need a pretty decent sample size to really judge it correctly, and that takes time, and it makes it accurate, the assessment. Now, I don't know. Like we saw in Danny's first draft, they drafted Matvei Michkov. Let's take that one out of the equation because he's a freak talent. The other players in the draft a couple of years ago, how have they developed over the last 2 years? It's hard to say. Again, these are 18-year-old kids when they're drafted. So there's a lot of growing up that needs to be done. Now, in Briere's first draft, like I mentioned, the Flyers got Matvei Michkov. That was in the 2023 NHL entry draft, 7th overall. They drafted Oliver Bonk. How do you assess Oliver Bonk's development playing in London when he hasn't really been with the Flyers? He's been in London. Do the Flyers get any credit or blame for where he is as a player just yet? I don't know. He's been in London. That's where he's played. Yeah, he comes in for development camp, and they consult with him, and they consult with the coaches, the whole thing. Carson Bjarnason was also taken in that 23 draft in the second round. He's developed pretty nicely. Goaltending's a tough one to project. Same thing with Zavragin, who was taken in the third round of that same draft. Denver Barkey, unbelievable season once again for the London Knights, the captain. Cole Knuble, now we're getting down into the fourth round. Alex Shernack, Carter Sutherland, Matteo Mann. I don't know if we're ready to judge those guys yet on the development of those players. You can even go back to a year prior, guys that maybe have a little more touches with the Flyers developmental staff. And the 22 draft, obviously Cutter Gauthier is no longer here. He was the 5th overall pick in that draft. Devin Kaplan, we saw him make his NHL debut at the end of the season after his run to the Frozen Four final with BU. Alex Bump, winning a national championship, was a 5th-round draft pick in the 22 NHL entry draft. Unbelievable season. He's developed nicely. Do the Flyers get credit for that, or is that just because he decided not to go to Vermont and he went to Western Michigan? Hunter McDonald was also in that draft. You can look back to 21, though, and you go, a guy like Samu Tomala, taken in the second round, 46th overall. He hasn't sniffed the NHL yet. Kolosov, we saw this year. Goalie, I think it was still early for him. But again, I'm not optimistic on Kolosov. And then you look at the year before, 2019. Again, these are drafts that Chuck Fletcher made. Cam York was taken 14th overall. Obviously, we know they passed on Cole Caulfield, not once but twice. Bobby Brink has come along pretty good. Ronnie Adder was a 3rd-round pick. He's no longer here. Cam York had a really good season, not this past year, the season prior, and a little bit of a step back last year. Joel Farabee was taken in 18, 14th overall. He's no longer here. So the developmental staff, it takes some time to judge the developmental staff, is my point. And I think judging this developmental staff, just like with the GMs, Riley Armstrong had nothing to do with the developmental staffs of the past. But can he break the trend of the Flyers being a team that develops players very nicely on a nice arc to becoming what they could be as NHL players and sometimes beyond? We'll see. We'll see in time. All right, number 6. Again, these are our top 10 Flyers Daily ground rules for phase 2 of the rebuild. Number 6, the notion that the Flyers are not an attractive place to play for free agents to consider. This goes back to Marner in some ways. Would Marner even consider the Flyers with where they finished last year or where they are or where they're going? Yeah, they haven't been good over the last 5 years. And that doesn't help. That doesn't make them a more shiny destination because they haven't been good. It hurts, no doubt about it. Perhaps Torts didn't help with some particular players wanting to come here and play for the Flyers. Tocchet, it probably helps that. Is it the only factor? I don't think so. I think it helps. And it can be maybe something that pushes a player over the top. But Flyers, the management knows that Tocchet can help in that regard. The reputation on how the organization, the franchise, has always treated players and their families is what helps a lot. And when you have guys that came through here recently, Mark Stahl as a veteran guy, we saw this past year Eric Johnson, very respected guy in NHL player circles. We saw Sean Walker the year prior come through Philadelphia, come out of Los Angeles, get a chance to play a more prominent role in Philadelphia, get the payday as a result of it. Now he's playing in a conference final, and he's getting paid more money than had he stayed in LA. And his experience was very good here, treated very well. Those things go around. And how they were treated, how their families are treated. The facilities at the arena, top notch. They just redid the whole downstairs. It's unbelievable. And even more important, the facilities at the Flyers Training Center, which they've redone over the last couple of years to a huge degree. And the players, they spend more time at the training center than they do at the arena. That's where they spend most of their time. That's where the weight rooms are. It's where, the practice rinks, all that stuff's there. The ability in Philadelphia to live in a major city on the Northeast Corridor with a ton of culture, a ton of great restaurants, that helps. Those things do help, especially more veteran players that have a wife or a family. Because if you come to Philadelphia, you want to live in the city, live in Center City, and live the high life in Sex and the City, the whole thing, you can do that and play for the Flyers. If you're a little bit more chill and you want to live in the suburbs and you're raising a family and you want good schools for your kids, you got that too. That's right across the bridge. Travel, being a player for a team right in this Northeast Corridor, like the Flyers, like the Devils, like the Rangers. Travel's a lot easier on these players. They sleep in their own bed a lot more. And when you're playing 41 road games a year, that's a factor. The Flyers are an attractive destination. And if they show those potential players, whether they're free agents or players with partial no-move clauses looking to waive them, that they're on a path to being a successful team that can win, that'll ultimately make it even more attractive. Got to get there. Got to get to that part. That's number 6. All right, number 7. The only player on the team that wants to win is Matvei Michkov. I've seen this quite a bit lately. He's the only guy that really wants to win. I actually saw that on social media the other day. I mean, doesn't everybody want to win? Everybody wants to win, but what are you willing to do to win? But ultimately, you got to have talent, depth, health to win. Ridiculous as that sounds, and I've seen it on social media, that Michkov's the only one that truly wants to win. I can assure you, as I deal with a lot of the players pretty closely through a season, I can assure you that Konechny and Sanheim and Couturier and Noah Cates and Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink, and they all want to win. You don't get to the level that they're at as an athlete without the burning desire to win. And a player has a small window in their career. Their career is not like a fandom. Fandom is forever. It goes beyond multiple players' careers. Their career can be anywhere between 2 and 12 years. They have a window to win, and they want to win. And again, you don't get to be an athlete, the top 1% of the 1%, if you can't stand losing and you have that desire to win. You'll just never get there. That's number 7. They all want to win, but you need talent to win. You need some luck too. You need to stay healthy at the right time. This is a 32-team league. It ain't easy. Number 8. Again, these are the top 10 Flyers daily ground rules in phase 2 of the rebuild. Things we can just kind of stop talking about. And I'm going to spend very little time on number 8. The Flyers are cursed because of the Kate Smith statue. I still see this on social media. Please, this really isn't even worth my time discussing, but it's ridiculous. Stop posting your political agendas and saying the Flyers are cursed because of the Kate Smith statue. Number 9, just because a rumor gets out, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We see so much reaction to rumors, people melting down as if the rumor is reality. So you can stop freaking out. Look, we're going to come into silly season here with free agency, at the draft, and all of that. We can stop freaking out that Danny doesn't know how to do his job based on a rumor we see on social media, even if it's from a trusted, credible source. Information that gets out has an agenda behind it. It doesn't get out unless someone wants it to get out. So when you hear Elliot Friedman, he gets information and he has to decide, is this trusted information? Are they trying to use me? Or, he's got to suss through that stuff, which is why you get information about this. You check with other people that are involved in some way, shape, or form with it as well to substantiate information that you get. Now, like players, information gets out. Oh, Cam York wants $9 million. Well, so do I. I'm not going to get it. Now, how did that get out there that some reporter said that Cam York wanted $9 million for his next contract? Well, probably came from an agent. People started freaking out when they saw that. Oh my God, they're going to pay him $9 million. It is a rumor. React positively or negatively when something actually happens, not at the boogeyman, the rumor boogeyman. You're wasting too much of your emotional bandwidth freaking out at every rumor. And again, we're coming up to silly season. I'm trying to help your sanity here. Don't go crazy over every rumor. The Flyers aren't going to get a number one for Scott Lawton. People were freaking out. Should have traded him last year. This is a disgrace. He doesn't know what he's doing. They got a number one for Scott Lawton. Those kind of things. All right, that was number 9. Number 10, our final one. Well, we have a bonus one as well. Sometimes one move doesn't make all the sense it will make when the plan is fully executed. And we're getting into this time of year where we might see some trades around the draft, roster hockey trades, whatever it might be. Not every trade or acquisition in the NHL can just be judged just singularly on an island, and that's it. Sometimes it can. Sometimes these trades are also part of a multi-tiered plan, which we don't know at the time of the trade, so we can react to it. It's okay to react as the trade happens, whether you like it, don't like it. Is this a harbinger of things to come? Is there another shoe to drop? But just be open-minded that any trade, acquisition, signing could be part of something bigger. And I think, again, in the NHL with a rising cap world, we're going to start to see these things happen now. Like last year, St. Louis kind of made a nothing burger of a trade to regain their first-round pick last year. And people kind of didn't think much of it until Doug Armstrong sent out 2 offer sheets and he needed his first-round pick back so he could do it. And he offer sheeted 2 Edmonton Oilers players. So I looked at that and said, why is he trading for his own pick back? That's stupid. That's a waste of assets. Well, he turned that into the ability of an offer sheet. So sometimes, it's okay to react right away. Love this deal. Don't like this deal. I hope it means something else is coming along with it. And this isn't just it. But if it is just it, I don't like it. That's fine. But I think in today's NHL, with this rising cap, we're going to see more complex dealings once again, like we got used to for so many years. It's just been so blah in the flat cap world since the pandemic. All right, that's the top 10 Flyers Daily ground rules for phase 2 of the rebuild. And I have one bonus one. Now, just because things have not been good here for a number of years, and I've lived through all of them just like you guys have, it doesn't mean you have to hate everything because of the assumption that the result will keep the team where they've been for the last 5 seasons or since 2012 or 2013. Now, this is going to require a little faith. And I know that's hard to come by sometimes. And you're asking for patience, and you've been patient, and you're out of it. But it will require some faith in Danny Briere, who, as we know, as a player, was an absolute killer. Best when the lights were the brightest in the playoffs. It's going to require some faith in Keith Jones, who some people don't think was qualified for the job. coming out of broadcasting, radio, and television to take on a president of hockey operations shop. It's going to require a faith in Keith Jones to leverage the many relationships within the league to the Flyers' advantage. And it's going to require faith in a proven winner in Dan Hilferty, who's kind of the point person for it all. A guy who puts people together, lets them do their thing to work tighter, more efficient, to do great things. Some things you thought impossible. If you look back in Dan Hilferty's career, he's gotten done because he's assembled the right people for the job. He's done that in his past experiences as an executive. We hope that's the case here. But again, just because things haven't been good the last 5 years, you don't have to react like everything is cataclysmic and it's got to be wrong because it was a decision the Flyers made. And they've been bad and they've made a lot of wrong decisions going back for a while. It's okay to get optimistic if you see something you like. Don't just find the negative edge to it just because that feels more comfortable, because that's where you've been for the last 5, 7, 10 years. Sometimes it's okay to be optimistic. Go, all right, I'm sold on Rick Tocchet or I'm not, but I'll give it a chance and I'll be optimistic about it. Again, I've always believed you think good things are going to happen, good things will happen. If you always think the sky is falling and bad things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. Now, good things and bad things are going to happen in your life, in everybody's life, and a hockey team. How they deal with it, how they roll with it, how do they pivot when things go wrong, how they accentuate and extend when things go right. So again, just because things have not been good, don't let that make you hate everything they do. Look at it through a non-emotional lens of the last decade. Look at it for what it is now. Remove the emotion of the frustration of a decade and look at where it is now. And it goes right back to the first thing we talked about. Rule number 1. Danny Briere having the GM tenures of Bob Clark, Paul Holmgren, Ron Hextall, and Chuck Fletcher projected onto him. Again, he had nothing to do with it. Danny Briere's been here 2 years. And we all know that there was a process to get this thing going in the right direction again. Is it going in the right direction? I sure as hell hope so. Because I'm ready for it too. There you go. That is the top 10 Flyers Daily ground rules for phase 2 of the rebuild. I will tweet all these out for people as well. Love to get people's reaction to them. You can always message me on Twitter X at Jason Myrt, JasonMyrt. DM me or just shoot me a tweet. You can always email me as well. Jason.Myrtetus, Myrtetus @gmail.com. All right, let's get to our Flyers exit day interview, man. We have gone on a long time. I'll tell you what. We'll hold off on the exit day interview. I want to give Sean Couturier a full episode. We'll move Couturier to Wednesday. We've gone on for 38 minutes. I didn't think it was going to take that long. But we'll get to Sean Couturier coming up on Wednesday of next week for his exit day player interview. Bill Meltzer on Monday. Everybody, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. And we'll talk to you Memorial Day Monday with Bill Meltzer on a brand new Flyers Daily.